speaking of variety, a guy who's talked about every subject under the sun and written about a lot of them over the years, Bill O'Reilly. Bill, bringing you in. It's almost 100 days. And big, broad question to start with you. I think 100 days will officially be early next week. How would you grade the first 100 days of the Trump administration? Has anything surprised you? Has anything stood out to you that maybe you were not anticipating also as a part of that grade that you might give?
Well, you'd have to do subjects if you want to be fair and give grades. Different subjects, the economy, foreign affairs, immigration, all to get different grades. I think the tariff Liberation Day stuff was unanticipated, certainly by me. And, I have a pretty close contact with the White House. I know what they're doing and why they're doing. And I wasn't ready for that shock and awe at all. So Tuesday is a 100-day anniversary. On Wednesday, we'll be doing a 2-hour town hall on News Nation, kicking it off with President Trump. He'll be on with me, Chris Cuomo, Stephen A. Smith, to go down the list of what has happened. But, a lot of this is emotion, not fact, and that's what I'm trying to get away from. But if you ask me a specific question about a policy that Trump has done in 100 days, I can give you a fairly specific answer.
Well, let's take a look first, Bill, at what you think on the economy, because that's been, I think, the primary policy area where even people who are pro-Trump maybe have gotten a little unnerved by some of the market moves recently, right? It's one, the left, oh yeah, Trump is Hitler, he sent this MS-13 guy, we expect all that stuff. But the economy, the tariffs, some of that, I think, is where, there's a little bit of a have faith in me, trust me attitude from Trump on this one. How do you assess how he's doing and what that's looking like so far?
Well, whenever you mess with people's money, they're going to get emotional, number one. I don't know if Donald Trump understands that because he's a child of privilege. He's been a wealthy person since he's been born. But I don't know if he understands the emotion that Americans have tied into their cash, because it's everything in this country. This is a capitalistic country. And if you don't have enough money, you're going to have a miserable life, period. So when the stock market began to wobble and then collapse for a few days, people not only started to worry, they got angry. Because when you're surprised in a negative way, usually the first emotion is anger. What are you doing? Get away from me. All right? That's natural. It's all natural. Same thing is people don't understand tariffs to this day. They don't know what's going on. You can go out there with charts and you can go to night school or on the internet and enroll in a macroeconomics course. It'll take you 3 or 4 weeks to understand what the tariffs are. This isn't like immigration, which is easy to understand. And so the emotion of the country was, what are you doing to Donald Trump? And that hurt him. Now, I don't know, and I'm going to ask him certainly on Wednesday, do you understand why Americans are disenchanted at this point? That, on the record, because it's all what I just told you is 100% true, the economy itself is pretty good. And it wasn't bad under Biden either. Prices killed Biden. But prices are coming down under Trump. In my area on Long Island, gas prices are down significantly, and food is down as well. Now, I don't think the greedy insurance companies are going to drop their prices, and that was a big factor to destroying Joe Biden. But you don't know. Increased competition may cause that. But people have jobs. There are plenty of jobs around. Consumers are spending money. So the economy is okay. But this tariff deal, Trump's going for the big, big payoff here. And maybe he'll get it. But maybe doesn't counter panic.
We're talking to Bill O'Reilly. He's going to be having the president for 100 days. You've known the president a long time. Buck has known the president for a long time. I've known him the last 5 or 6 years. he seems more comfortable to me, Bill, in this iteration of his presidency than he ever has before. I'm curious if you get that vibe from him, whether you would attribute it partly to surviving in Butler. Maybe it's winning the popular vote. Maybe despite putting on the 2028 hat, it's knowing that there is an end to the race in sight where he's not necessarily a politician anymore. Do you get that sense? How would you assess him personally as we come up on this 100-day mark?
Well, certainly he's far more comfortable than he was the first time around, because the first time around he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
So he comes into office, and I can tell you this with certainty, knowing that the president before him failed dismally and with a personal grudge against Joe Biden. Donald Trump hates Joe Biden, and I don't use that word often. It's not a dislike, it's a hate, because Trump believes that Biden was behind many of the legal problems that he experienced. Where's Merrick Garland, by the way? He's in a witness protection program. I never saw a guy get out of town faster than him.
Great point. All
right, so Trump comes in and he goes, he's got an agenda where he didn't have that in the first go around. It took him almost 6 months to believe he was actually there. Okay. So he gets there and he goes shock and awe border. Boom, works. Shock and awe DEI. Boom, works. Shock and awe tariffs. Doesn't work. Now, the first few months before the tariffs, he was riding high. And he was very super confident. Now it's a little more tentative. Add that to Putin basically poking him in the eye, because Trump did not anticipate that would happen. They had a structure of a deal before Trump was even elected, Putin and Trump. But Putin is so evil, so massively bad, that he's going to cause as much problem as humanly possible before he'll make a deal. And Trump did not anticipate that. So that's throwing him off his game a little bit, Trump, with the tariffs and Putin. But certainly he's far more confident now. And I was in a cabinet meeting with him and his advisors on St. Patrick's Day than he was the first time around.
Bill, could I just jump in on that? Because I think that's really interesting. Do you think that Putin may have underestimated Trump in this exchange? Because it's not looking good, and I mean that from the optics side of things, right? I know the deal's not done. Nothing's been agreed to formally, et cetera. But for Putin to do the dramatic escalation with some of these strikes, maybe dramatic is too strong a word, escalation with some of these strikes while this is ongoing, I think Trump feels a little slighted personally. And I just wonder if you think that Putin doesn't realize slighting Trump personally is not smart business.
You know, I am not a psychiatrist, but I have Vladimir Putin on the cover of my upcoming book, Confronting Evil, which will be out September 9th. The guy is hardcore. He enjoys inflicting pain on other people. He's unpredictable. So it's hard for me to assess his motivation. I can tell you that Trump was confident because Trump looks at life in a linear way. If the deal is good, you take it. Putin doesn't see it that way. Putin wants to inflict pain on other people. That's what he's done his whole entire life. I don't know if Trump understands that. I actually told him that face to face 8 years ago in the first interview he did before being inaugurated when I was on Fox News. And I said, this guy, he's a killer. And, the soundbite, it's a famous soundbite. He goes, well, we're not that pure ourselves. That was Trump's answer. Now I believe that Trump knows that he's going to have to punish Putin in order to get Putin to do anything. And that strategy is underway.
You said you were in a cabinet meeting on St. Patrick's Day with Trump. How confident are you in Pete Hegseth's stature as the defense secretary? So far, Trump has not had to fire anybody in the first 100 days. I think he wants to set the precedent that he is not going to listen to the media at all because they're never happy and they're always demanding the next head on a platter. How would you assess Hegseth's status and so far Trump staying behind everybody that's a part of the cabinet?
When Hegseth was nominated, I said that was not a good nomination. You'll remember that. I think we talked about it on this program.
We did, yeah.
And the reason was that most people who work in the Pentagon are careerists. Their whole life, they work there. They don't want an agent of change walking in. That's Hegseth. They're going to try to undermine and destroy him. A stronger person with more experience could counter that. Hegseth can't. Therefore, he is not going to survive in that job. Now, your point about Donald Trump not being intimidated by the hate Trump media is an excellent point, and everybody should understand it. He's not going to look weak. But I don't believe that Mr. Hegseth is going to be able to run the Pentagon. That will become clear to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who will then tell Donald Trump, if they haven't already, you got to get somebody else in there. And that is.
Can we ask you, Bill, also, we're running close up against the break here, but I did want to get this in. I'm sure you saw this, I guess maybe scuttlebutt about Besant and Elon, two guys with plenty of money and plenty of ego. I think that's fair to say. Really going at it. If you believe the reports, and I haven't seen anybody, I mean, Caroline Levitt was like, boys will be boys. So this wasn't, no one has seemed to suggest this is fake, but getting personal, getting nasty over the IRS director. What do you see here? What are the bigger dynamics maybe within the White House that you think this might allude to? Or is this just two guys, scoping each other out and not liking what they see? What was this all about?
I don't know what it was about, but I know it happened. So you're not going to see much of Elon Musk this summer. And I think his tenure at the White House, he still has the president's ear, but he's not going to be around very much. Besant is emerging as a very powerful person in the Trump administration.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. I'm not.
Too
I
early?
don't know him.
Yeah.
I do know that he was a moderating force to pull back on the shock and awe with the tariffs. And, that worked. The market stabilized to some extent. That's a big plus for him.
What is the one thing you want to see? I mean, I'm sure, sorry, I don't want to make you give up some of what you're going to be talking about in a few days, but I think everyone would expect you'd ask the focus between now and the fall for Trump. I know there's a lot of things, got to walk and chew gum at the same time, sure, but if there's one area where he could put real points on the board in a way that would help with the momentum to get more of the agenda done, not losing the midterms, et cetera, what would you want to see him, what do you think the most important area for racking up wins is for this administration?
Well, if what I'm hearing is true, he'll have deals with India and Japan to announce almost maybe next week. And if that happens, the EU will follow soon, and Mexico and Canada also. If he can get that done in the month of May, then he'll be riding high again. And then China will.
Bill, where can people go to see the interview? We're running into break here, but we wanted to make sure everyone knows. Where can they go? And also BillO'Reilly.com for your daily analysis, right?
Yep, that's the place to go. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Thank you so much. Look, dads, you already know this. It's something I could only really appreciate the moment that Carrie and I had our first child welcomed into this world. There is nothing you wouldn't do to protect your child, to protect your family. One look into your baby's eyes, you see that vulnerability. You know as a parent that you would do anything to protect your boy or girl. And it's no surprise you raise your children. You want to protect them no matter what their age. Even before Carrie and I welcomed our little boy from the hospital, we had self-protection products at our home by Sabre. Sabre is how you spell it. Sabre. Their website is saberradio.com. Look, it looks like a pistol, feels in your hands very similar to a pistol, but Sabre's non-lethal pepper projectile launcher is a great non-lethal self-defense option, particularly for my wife, for Clay's wife. They like having that as something they could go and use. They're comfortable with it, and it is going to stop so many of the threats that may come up. Sabre has safeguarded hundreds of thousands of Americans with their products. Go to saberradio.com. Save 15% on that website today. SABRE radio.com, or call this number 844-824-SAFE.